Welcome to BoxtheBase. I'm your host Vic. That's my co-host Josh, and hopefully on this episode, outside of talking baseball, it'll be a technical issue-free episode. Because last time I had to take down our previous episode, because unfortunately Josh's audio did not get recorded. Thank you, OBS.
No, I was basically a talking mime. I was a
Yeah.
talking mime in the last episode.
I mean, hey, if you want the episode, you can always shoot me a message, and I might send it to you. But you'd have to start guessing what Josh said.
Pretty much, but knock on wood, this episode is gonna be technical issue free.
Yeah, I mean, right now I keep looking at the desktop audio on OBS because every time he speaks, to make sure it's getting recording.
This episode and the episodes moving forward are gonna be are gonna be blunder free. They're gonna be
Yeah,
blunder free.
but anyway, to talk about some more fun stuff, which is what you come here for, the baseball stuff. I guess like usual, we'll start off our episodes. I mean, I can give you a little bit of a rundown of what we have planned for this episode. It's kind of a Marlins review, which is what we always do at the start of our episodes. We're definitely going to talk about the situation with the Red Sox and Rafael Devers. Some managers were fired, and the whole Hall of Fame band that went around. The big names there are Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe, but I think it extends beyond that if you read what Rob Manfred actually did. But yeah, I mean, if you want to start us off with the Chicago series and the Chicago road trip that the Marlins had.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the Chicago White Sox series was easily, as we talked about off pod, probably our worst series of the year. Um, and I wouldn't say worst series in terms of play, but definitely worst series in terms of luck. I mean, that first game you had the umpire behind the plate that was all over the place. The second game, we had Eddie in the bullpen that tossed a great game, and we had also I believe a Stowers home run in that game.
I believe so. I
Um,
mean, I'm pretty sure he hit one in that series.
yeah, I believe he had a home run in that second game, which we won.
Yeah, that's the game we won. So
And
yeah, it was Stowers home run.
yeah, and then of course in the last game we had the Sandy blow up in the sixth inning that inevitably lost us the game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean we can go from there. I think it was pretty forgettable, and being that it's the White Sox, by far the most disappointing series of the year.
I mean, I don't know what it is with this team this year, but I will say this, and if the White Sox series wasn't proof of it already, then I don't know what will be later on down the line. But I mean, this team for some godforsaken reason, they have one of the highest percentages of two out runs and they're high in the league in hits and everything. But on the road, it doesn't matter who they're playing, they do not score very much. It feels like.
No, and I think that even aside from scoring, the Marlins offense is top 10 in the league at this moment, I believe, in hits per game.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean,
they're
on
just
the road, it doesn't feel like they can get any hits with runners on.
they're just not putting the
At home, I mean, I'm not saying I don't have the exact splits in front of me. Like I don't know how much better it is, but just by watching the games, and I watch damn near every game. I say that, and then today I'm probably gonna miss a game, unfortunately. But the thing is that I watch damn near every game, and it really does seem like at home they are scoring a lot more. And the thing is that what's funny is that I wouldn't really consider. I mean, depends how you want to view it, but I wouldn't really consider Marlins Park the most hitter friendly park. And it obviously, I think so. Like, I find it interesting, not to get away from the Chicago road trip, that they score just way more at home. I don't know if they like feel something different because they're at home or what the case is. These players, they're not all from Miami, but some of these players, or at least I don't think any of them are really. But who knows? Maybe they have like a nice home they like, Maybe they actually have family here, you know, like if any of them have wives or girlfriends that live with them. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, hey, at least you're winning at home because my goodness, not winning at home is very sad, and we've had that in
Right.
previous years.
Right. And I think that's the silver lining, if anything, this year. You want to have that home field advantage. You want to feel like your team is better when they come here and they play at home, which, like you said, hasn't been the case in previous years. So, it's nice to see a team. And by the way, I mean, we don't, like you said, we don't have the splits in front of us, but statistically, they are a much better home team than they are a road team.
Yeah,
Um, so it's nice to have a team that is going to come home and play better. And I'm sure if they keep this up through the season, fans will appreciate that, and more fans will start coming, even if they have a losing record.
yeah, and I mean, just to kind of not go away from that Chicago series, because we still have the second half of it, and it's called the Chicago series. Well, the Chicago road trip, because they had to play the White Sox and then the
The Cubbies.
yeah the Cubbies. I will say this before we move on from the White Sox series, and I understand it was like the big thing that was going around because at the time the new Pope got elected, and and I guess they found footage of him at the White Sox game in '05 when they won the World Series. But I mean, I kid you not, I don't know what it is with the White Sox right now. But if you haven't paid attention, I mean, I only know this because I saw a few tweets about it. But if you haven't paid attention, they actually have a winning record in May.
Yeah, I mean the
Not by a
the
lot,
Pope
but they do.
the Pope put his blessing down, and in the next 5 years, the White Sox will probably end up winning the World Series.
Like I don't get it. I mean, in game one, well, here's the funny story about it, which is how which is how I heard it anyways. Is that the Marquee, which is a newspaper from Chicago, said that he was a Cubs fan. Like they wrote him down in the newspaper as a Cubs fan. Then his brother came out and said no, he's been a lifelong White Sox fan. And then people found footage of him at the White Sox '05 World Series. And then
Which
when
is
we
pretty awesome, by the way.
yeah, I mean I find that pretty funny. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm a religious person. I'm Catholic. I go to church frequently, and it's like I usually don't see my priest outside of church setting, and I mean I understand they're normal human. They have to go to like you know whatever they do throughout their day. They don't spend it all the time in the church, but it's just like kind of I would say a little funny to see your priest somewhere that's not the church. But anyways, and then um moving on from that is that when we walked in to what rate field I think it's called now, they dropped the guaranteed part. Um, they had on the giant jumbotron like congratulations Pope Leo and all of this, and then of course there was somebody in the stands dressed as a pope or and I don't know, man. I mean, it just felt like everything. It felt like the Marlins couldn't have entered the south side of Chicago at a worse time.
Yeah, it was just it really felt like nothing went right. It felt like, aside from that second game of the series, which felt like a struggle to win, felt like none of the series went right. It felt like
Yeah,
everything that could have gone wrong went wrong in that series.
it really did. And then I mean I don't know what it is. The White Sox all of a sudden are playing good baseball ever since the Pope was elected. So I guess the man above is working miracles. If you if you
If
are
you
a
believe
believer,
in that.
if you believe in any
Yeah.
of that. And then the second half of that trip was in Chicago, still obviously with the Cubs. And honestly, I think if you look at it just based off of wins and losses, the whole road trip was a dud because we only won like 2 games.
You won 2 out of 6, yeah.
Yeah, 2 out of 6. But honestly, especially in that White Sox series, I think the Marlins really fought and played well. Like yeah, they
No, not in the White Sox series. In the Cubs
in the
series.
Cubs series, my bad. In the Cubs
Yeah.
series, yeah, in game one they got walked off and all
Which
that. But
which they should have won that game, by the
but
way.
I mean, Really, like they played some complete games there. Cause game one and what? Or no, not
No,
game
the
one.
walk off was game two. Yeah,
Game two. Cause game one they got blown out, like 5-1 or 5-2.
yeah, it was 5-2.
Yeah, and then game game two with the walk off, where I think they actually played a really complete game up until the end when they got walked off. And then game three, where I mean that was one of the games they won, and that was honestly a pretty complete effort there. I mean, I don't know what takeaways you have from that Cubs series.
Yeah, it was impressive to me because, to be completely honest, I think the Marlins are a bottom three team in ERA right now, and I think you and I spoke about it. I'm like, wow, the Cubs are about to pour it on in this series. Like they're absolutely gonna pour it on our pitching. And to be fair, I mean, yeah, we lost 2 out of 3, but they really didn't though. I feel like we competed well. We were a walk off away from winning 2 out of 3. Um, and it was nice to see the competitive nature in the team. I mean, Stowers had that crazy game where he had 2 home runs. Um, I had positive takeaways. Like I said, it was only 1 out of 3 in that series, but I feel like we fought. The offense looked good. The pitching looked good. We didn't, we didn't get manhandled the way I thought we were going to.
Yeah, and I mean that's all you really that's all you really can hope this season, which I know to some people out there is not enough. But when you look at what the team is currently, when they're competitive against teams that realistically are postseason contenders and want to make the playoffs, and you would expect them to come over here and just steamroll the Marlins, it's pretty encouraging to see, and especially when you see a lot of these guys never really like giving up at bats, no matter what the score is. Always fighting. Caring about it, even if it's like already like a big lead against us. It's still a good thing. And also, I do want to mention that in that last game of the Cup Series, we got Ryan Weathers back, which
Yeah, we did.
thank
Yeah, we
God.
did. Shame on me for not mentioning him. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that he's back because my goodness, this pitching staff really need it.
Yeah, with how things have been going, I mean, thank goodness we have someone that came in, and to be honest, man, he looked really damn good, man. He looked good. Like it wasn't like one of those bounce back starts where he was like, oh, he was kind of walking the tightrope and he had some good pitches, but no, he looked good the whole way, and it was encouraging to see to me. I hope that continues throughout the season. I mean, I think he's our only lefty in the rotation at the moment.
Yeah.
So it was encouraging to see. And by the way, speaking of things, I know we haven't talked about this yet, but for some reason the score has Sandy Alcantara as the starter for today and tomorrow. So it might be double Sandy day against the
Yeah, the
Rays.
Marlins are like Tommy John 2.0. No.
Anyway,
But
keep
uh
going.
but yeah, I mean Ryan Weathers was really encouraging. I mean, I was honestly really excited for just what his season was gonna look like in general before the season started, because ever since we traded him or traded for him from the Padres, he's been really good, like, for us. I mean, I understand that like the beginning of when he first got over here wasn't amazing, but ever since last year, he's been great for us. Um, and he's a really exciting like pitcher to have in our rotation. He throws hard. He has a nasty breaking ball, like slider, changeup, and the thing is that coming out of spring training, he was pitching amazing. I mean, he was throwing really well in spring training, which obviously you always take spring training stuff with a grain of salt. I mean, look at Kyle Stowers. We'll talk about him in a second, but I mean, it's encouraging when a pitcher's throwing well, in spring training, and then he gets injured right up at the end, and then he has to go through rehab. But rehab, he threw, not a single issue there. And I mean, I get it with rehab starts. Most of the time, you're not looking for their stat line. You're just hoping they can throw well, their velocity's fine, and that they don't get hurt and they don't show any discomfort, which was good. But I mean, one thing I want to point out with him that they talked about a lot on the broadcast, especially when he started, on Wednesday, is that he like went and really put in a lot of work this off season. Like, yeah, I know a lot of players do and everything.
You and I talked about it.
Yeah, but I mean, what they said was that he went on a carnivore diet, which if you don't know, that's basically just eating a ton of meat. And the idea is obviously you do that in order to lose weight. And he was drinking only salt water for his drinks. Now I don't know what that means. And before anyone decides to go and pour salt in their water and think they're gonna throw like 97 like Ryan Weathers, I would hold off on that because it could mean salt water, but a lot of people call it salt water, and usually it's just like a homemade electrolyte drink
Yeah,
for hydration. And the reason it's homemade is because a lot of the store bought stuff has like too much sugar for people's liking, or it might have certain ingredients that people think are harmful to them. Because
right.
Ryan Weathers clearly is part of the new wave of athletes that are being more health conscious. Not just it's not just about calories, but it's also about what you're putting in your body. Certain ingredients that can be toxic to you. But anyways, so I mean, with Ryan Weathers, it's really awesome just to have him back. And hey, I mean, it's awesome to see their transformation too, because I think it's something that hopefully, I mean, knock on wood, and hope it's the case. But you would hope that now with this new transformation of losing weight and being leaner and building muscle and feeling better, mentally, obviously, with how he feels, and that translating physically, that he can, have a healthy season and a healthy career, really.
Yeah, he looks real good. We texted about it. He looks like he lost all the face fat. He looks good, man. And honestly, if it wasn't his first start back, he would have pitched even longer. I think he was only at like 70 something pitches. He could have probably thrown in another inning there if it wasn't his first start.
Yeah, I mean, they probably just didn't want to like work him too much. It was his first start. We'll see what kind of a leash they give him. But if he's throwing the ball, I mean, I'm not I'm not saying every start's gonna be equally as good, because that's just impossible at the MLB level. But if he's throwing, quality starts the majority of the time like this, and this team clearly needs starters to go and give them length, he's probably gonna be somebody who is gonna hopefully be able to give us more or less consistently, 6 innings.
Knock on wood, man. It's been rough this year with the starting pitching. Knock on wood, man. That's what we need. That's what the team is lacking right now.
I mean, I haven't looked at where he would line up next, but I'd have to
Uh,
guess it might be the Cubs again, just
yeah, it's
just
gonna
based
be the
on
Cubs again because he pitched what? He pitched game 3 of the Cubs series, right?
yeah.
So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. His next start will be Tuesday.
Ooh, that's actually pretty good. I might be going to that game. Uh, but
Next start would be Tuesday. Yeah.
yeah, I might be going to that game. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and also we can talk about Kyle Stowers because he's been just red hot. Like, what, he's up to 10 homers already.
Yeah, bro. I was funny. I remember us talking, and you were like, he had hit the first home run in that Cubs game, and you were like, oh, he's at 10 homers already. I know he's really at 9, but he's gonna get to 10 before the end of May. And 2 at bats later, he hits another one.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's just like you. I mean, he had done it already twice before, but I mean, what the heck, dude? Because that was his third multi-homer game this season. Well, and
we're only in May.
of his career too, because I mean, he hit all of them this season. But it's like I didn't expect him to hit number 10, in the same game. I was like, he's gonna hit a home run here, maybe get another few hits, and then next game or later on he's gonna get number 10. It's gonna I don't know. I didn't expect it to come so soon. I mean, but hey, my bad for doubting Kyle Stowers.
And excuse my language, he's pissing on the ball too. He's like pissing on the ball. I mean, those home runs he hit on Wrigley were far. They
Yeah.
were far.
he's
So
he just
he's
has a
mashing right
solid
now.
approach. Yeah, he has a solid approach at the plate. I mean, he's hitting tremendous. Like, it's it's not only to me that he's hitting for because he's hitting for average, which honestly I should have wrote his slash line down. Shame on me for not having the stats down. But he's hitting for average. He's hitting for a ton of power to his slugging percentages through the roof. And really, he's one of these bats in the lineup that, yes, there is a bit of like a whiff rate issue, meaning he has a decent amount of swings
Swing
and
and miss. Yeah.
yeah, like where it's not necessarily that he's striking out a lot, I wouldn't say, but it's kind of like mid at bat, he might swing and miss a lot, you know? But
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that he's developed a good eye. I mean, enough to recognize certain pitches, and he is just taking pitches with authority, like
And if
every
you
time he
want, I
gets.
could read out his stat line. I pulled it up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
His he's batting for 299 average. He's got a OPS of 939 with a slugging of 563. 30 RBIs, 16 walks.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's impressive too is that he's hitting for good average, hitting for good power, and he's somebody who has made himself he forced himself into the everyday playing role because coming out of spring training, he looked horrible. Let's just put it bluntly. I mean, I almost thought he should have gone to to Triple A because I was like, it feels like he has no confidence right now, especially coming out from last year. Clear Clearly I was wrong about that. But it's also the fact that you cannot just bring in a lefty out of your bullpen to pitch to him late in games. He is crushing everybody. Lefty, righty, it does not matter. He has a high slug versus freaking lefties too, which is amazing for him. I mean, I've seen so many like Marlins fans, using stat head compare on Twitter and comparing him to like Juan Soto and other guys around the league. Apparently, the only thing he's really worse in right now is WAR because apparently they don't like his defense as much, which I really don't see an issue with his
Which
defense.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to someone like Juan Soto, I feel like Sowers would have better defense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the Dominican has the plátano power. So,
Juan Soto is the Dominican Kyle Stowers. Let's get it. Let's get it straight, bro. He's a
yeah,
Dominican Kyle Stowers.
and I will shout out Takes for that because
Yeah.
Takes from Rain on
Yeah.
Twitter if you don't know who he is.
And
But
he was cooking. We
he
didn't
was,
know it yet, but he was cooking.
yeah, like they say, he wasn't wrong. He was just early.
Yeah, he was just early. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, Kyle Stowers has been incredible. Mark DeRosa on MLB Central, by the way, did a breakdown of his, which everyone I think should go watch because yeah, a lot of the guys, a lot of the big names get breakdowns because you expect them to be doing good, but I mean, someone like Kyle Stowers who has literally come out of nowhere, I think he's definitely worth the watch. I mean, it's
Yeah, he's been great.
it's a phenomenal breakdown, and yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, and at this rate, he's gonna represent the Marlins at the All Star game.
Now we're talking, bro. Now we're talking. It
Which
we're almost. He's almost. We can't have the sample size conversation. He's almost at 200 plate appearances. We're starting to creep into the conversation of he deserves to be in the All Star game.
Yeah, and this next guy, who I actually made a video about yesterday, if you check out BoxtheBase on Instagram and TikTok, Augustine
Which I
Ramirez.
like the format, by the way. I meant to tell you. I meant to text you and tell you the format. I like that format.
Yeah, you guys should all go check it out and see the format that he's talking about because I mean I'm trying to make more shorts that way and would be appreciative if you guys can give some feedback. But Augustine Ramirez, who has been incredible since being called up. He went through like a little mini slump, but my goodness, the way he's adjusted. I mean, they started pitching him all the way on the outside, and I'm gonna read you his numbers here shortly, but he he's made some great adjustments. Augustine Ramirez really, and because when he went through that slump, he was swinging and missing a lot because they were throwing him a lot on the outside, and it seems like he's clearly recognized that, if they come over the middle or even inside, I'm gonna crush the ball. So what they're gonna do is try and go outside, and the thing is that all he has to do is really not swing once he recognizes the ball's outside, because a lot of the time it's gonna be breaking balls and stuff that are out of the zone. They want him to swing out of the zone. I mean, they're gonna purposely throw him away and out of the zone.
And an
So
impressive adjustment too for someone like him who's just a rookie. He went through that big slump in the a couple series after he broke out onto the scene. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh man, they're gonna send him back to AAA because he's on the slump now. And man, it's impressive to see someone so young adjust like that, and now he's mashing again.
yeah, and I mean, props to the team too for like allowing him to really work through that slump and allowing him to stick around, because the thing is, they could have easily just said, "Hey, you're going back down." And the reason I say easily, even though like you would be like, why would you send him down so quickly after calling him up, is that we were getting Nick Fortes back at catcher.
Yeah,
I mean, right now this Marlins team is running with three catchers, even though I think Ramirez has been, well, maybe Hicks honestly has been catching the least, but
yeah,
I mean, I mean, props to them for allowing him really to stay up there.
yeah. They
And
let him play through it. It was impressive.
yeah, played through it, and he's clearly shown that he can adjust. I mean, it's always gonna be a game of adjustments. Obviously, by the time his season's up and teams have a full season, more or less sample size,
Yeah,
they'll go back to the drawing board when they have to play the Marlins again, and they'll be like, "Look, this is what he does. This is who he is." They'll Here's the thing, right? Even the best hitters can be beat. Like even Aaron Judge has spots where you're able to beat him. Even Juan Soto has spots where you're able to beat him. Mike Trout in his prime. All these great hitters. Jackson Merrill, whoever you want to name. The thing is, what makes it tough is that they only have maybe one or two things that can beat him, and they're very good at sometimes taking that away from you,
yeah.
which is what ultimately you start to see with Augustine Ramirez. I mean, this is getting a little bit ahead, but I mean, last night, because right now the Marlins are playing Tampa. Last night, with the bases loaded, he had an insane at bat. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it was like an 8 pitch at bat. He was what 1-0 I think, and then swung and missed.
Yeah, he
And
got him down to 1-2.
yeah, he swung and missed at a pitch like virtually down the middle, and it was like you thought at that point, like, oh yeah, that's over. He looks overmatched. He's beat this guy. He's gonna just strike him out. And my goodness, he worked an insane at bat. They were throwing him away. They were trying to go in on him, and he kept fouling off everything until he finally worked the walk. And he took, in my opinion, some nasty pitches. Like yes,
Yeah.
from our perspective at home, it was clearly a ball because it's easy to track it all the way. When you're sitting on your couch. But my goodness, there was some nasty sliders and changeups that he just bit on. And
He was good, man. And then that ended up setting up the Norby bases clearing double.
yeah, which I think, I mean, especially for someone like Normie, dude, who's just like an absolute, like, what I like to call a gamer. I mean, this guy loves to play the game. He's not very loud in terms of like his personality, but he's passionate about the game. I mean, and I think having a teammate like Ramirez who just worked that insane at bat, I mean, it probably fired up Normie, and he was like, I need to drive these guys in. which is what
Yeah,
which is those little things that you can't really teach and you can't really explain. It's kind of just a thing you build with the team in general.
yeah. The team doesn't quit. The team doesn't quit, and it's impressive to see. And like we said at the beginning of the season, that's all that you want from this team. You know, they probably won't make the playoffs. They probably won't be over 500, but as long as they keep fighting, that's what matters and builds into the next season.
Yeah. So anyways, even though we kind of went a little bit too far in this Augustine Ramirez conversation, I'm gonna read you his stats right now, and this is just through 20 games, so it's not counting yesterday's game. Yesterday's game is not included in these stats, but he in just 20 games, he has a slash line of 260, 305, 571 with an 876 OPS. He in 20 games he already has 14 extra base hits, including 5 home runs. And I mean, that just shows you what kind of a player he already is. He's clearly somebody who is gonna hit for power, and hit not only for home run power, but he is literally a doubles machine when he taps into when he gets on these hot streaks and taps into his power.
Nah, he's been absolutely on fire. He's been on fire, and it's nice to see. The Marlins haven't had the best luck with prospects in the last few years. It's nice to see a prospect that they went out and acquired. I mean, just like Norby and Stowers, prospects that are producing, and you could tell that will be the future of the team.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like the only negative I can really put on Ramirez right now is that there are obviously some questions about his defense. We've seen it a little bit. I think
Although
we
there's been flashes, though, I think there's been some flashes.
yeah. I mean I think long term, especially if you have somebody like Joe Mack up, in the system, then yeah, he's definitely probably won't stick at catcher long term, or at least as a starting catcher, anyways. But I mean, because there have been moments with him, like yeah, he's flashed a little bit of the leather, throwing out a few runs
Yeah.
here and there and stuff. But really, the main issue he has, I think, is just some of it I would say urgency behind the plate, and then some of it
Uh-huh.
I would say is kind of just his pass ball issue. Like he's dropped a few balls. Some of them get a little like by him, and I mean the one that I think no matter how bad of a defensive player you are, or they say you are behind the plate, cannot happen, which we saw last night, was on one of the strikeouts, I believe, of Max Myers. He had to pick up the ball and throw down to first, but I feel like he didn't have any urgency throwing down to first. And and I forget who was on second for the Rays, but they ended up taking um third. And it's like when you have someone on second, you know, and I'd hope, especially as a catcher, you were told by the team who has speed, who doesn't on the team. You would, I mean, look the runner back, or be quicker with your play down to first. Allow your first baseman a better throw, a better chance to throw at the
Yeah,
runner.
no, and I agree with you, but I think it's still early. I mean, he's like you said, he's not he's an offense first player,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and I think it's still too early. You and I have talked about it. Eventually, he'll probably end up being our DH, but I just think that just like anything, you have to let it develop. You have to let it develop, and give him, in my opinion, you give him the season catching back there. If his stats over the season haven't improved, you're like, okay, well maybe you're not fit to be a catcher.
Yeah, and I mean, I I'm just gonna say this out there just as a simple little thing, but I mean, like I said earlier, they're running three catches right now. It could be a possibility that one of them gets traded at the deadline. I don't know. I mean, that's also if they really want to call up Joe Mack earlier rather than later,
Nah,
because
but they won't do Joe Mack anytime soon. I don't think, at least. I think Joe Mack will be a later in the season deal, probably.
yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, but it'd be interesting to see if they actually trade one of their catchers. I mean, it's not gonna obviously be Ramirez, so you can count him out. But it'd be either Fortes or Liam Hicks. We'll
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, that's like the one area where a lot of teams. It's usually that's an area where teams struggle to find like a good catcher, especially mid-season. And there's always a contending team out there who needs a catcher for whatever reason. So we'll see where they go with that. And so yeah, I mean that's kind of our little Marlins review. It probably went a little longer than I thought it would, but that's usually how most of our episodes go. And I think
Yeah.
now we can move on and talk about the Red Sox and Rafael Devers. I don't know if you want to start us off or if I should, but
Yeah, I think you can go ahead. I mean, I feel like you know what I'm gonna say, and I kind of know what you're gonna say, but you can start off if you want.
So I'm gonna start off like this. Instead of stating my own opinion, I want to kind of take any Red Sox fan or any MLB fan down memory lane. Maybe it won't be memory lane for us because this is more so '04, and I was probably like 3 years old at that time. Um, but I feel like this Devers situation is starting to really. It might, and I've seen it because I just looked at Red Sox Twitter in general. It might start to give some of these older Red Sox fans some PTSD, because it's not the first time they've necessarily gone through a situation like this. You know, it happened in, I believe it was '04, the year they won the World Series, and the year they had that comeback versus the Yankees. Um, with Nomar Garcia Parra, who was a fan favorite shortstop. They dealt with it with Manny Ramirez, who Manny Ramirez was a little bit of a hot case or hot headed case too, where it was like they just had to like deal with him in the locker room in certain situations when he was unhappy with the team, and kind of settle him back down and get him to like you know mesh with the team again. Which I don't think the Devers situation is as bad as a Manny Ramirez or maybe a Normar Garcia Parra. Maybe it's closer probably to Nomar than it is Manny, because um I don't think he's really causing like a ruckus in the locker room, or if he's like showing up late to games, or it's like minutes, like 20, 30 minutes before game time, his teammates are asking where the heck is Devers. That's not happening. But that did happen with Manny Ramirez, where it was like, it would be not too long before game time, and you would have his teammates asking where the heck is Manny, and they would, and it's like Manny hasn't even showed up for batting practice. Manny hasn't showed up for this and that and the other, and it's like teammates didn't care at that time. And there's a great segment that Kevin Millard did, by the way, on Unintentional Talk, which I think all of you should go look at for more like in-depth insight of this. But it's like it was that kind of a deal, where it's like I don't think Devers is doing the extreme stuff that Manny Ramirez would do. And realistically, I personally feel, right, this is now getting into just my personal opinion. I get it. He said that in spring training they told him put away the glove, we're gonna DH you, and then I feel like he started to, not necessarily that he liked it, but that he started to kind of accept his role. He's like, okay, if I'm gonna stick on this team, I'm gonna be their full time DH. Maybe they were able to talk him into and kind of see the vision of like we're trying to win, and maybe I don't know because we're not there, so I'm only saying maybe because it's only assumptions that he started to buy in a little bit, and he goes, if you want to win and you think Bregman at third is your option, I'll be your DH, that's fine. But then he kind of feels like he's being pulled around there everywhere, by them asking him to play first. But I kind of feel like personally, my own opinion is that, I mean, if it's gonna help the team at the moment be better, and he's kind of filling in for a teammate that got his knee blown up, who's not gonna come back this season. I mean, unless he makes some sort of deep playoff run, which currently this Red Sox team does not look like they're gonna go anywhere. Because outside of the Devers situation, this team has been 500 mid. It's just kind of like I feel like he should have said yes. I mean, I don't see where it benefits him to say no. I mean, I get it. He feels like he's probably being dragged around and like isn't necessarily happy with where he's playing. If it was up to him ultimately, he would be at third and he would be batting, wherever he sees fits in the lineup for himself, which is probably like third or something. But it's just like I don't fully get it honestly of why he would say no. That's just kind of where I stand. Like he honestly should have, and I felt like it was a bit selfish in a way because the team is asking him out of a need to fill a role that they didn't expect to. They didn't expect Casas' knee to blow up.
Let me know. Let me know. Let me know when you're done.
I'm done.
I just listen. The fact of the matter is, now more than ever, sports has become, and it's always been, but now more than ever because we see it in all different in the NFL and in the NBA everywhere. Sports has become a business, and it's more prevalent that players want respect. Okay, they made a whole fuss in the offseason. You and I covered this on one of our first episodes. They made a whole fuss in the offseason about him moving to DH because they want to play Bregman at third. What happens? He accepts DH, said, okay, Bregman has not played well at third base, let's be honest. So he accepts the DH role. What happens now? This guy gets a season-ending injury. Now it's like, hey, I know that you want to play third, but how about now instead of DH, we move you to first? And it's listen, he's getting paid 300 mil. He's not a. We all know that Rafael Devers is not a utility player. So it's not like a Bryce Harper. It's not like Rafael Devers has never been a utility player. So it's like, oh, now you strong armed me into playing DH, and now not only do you want me to not play DH anymore, now you want me to go across the diamond and play first because now you need me to play that. And to him, it probably feels like disrespect because of how big of a fuss they formed with the whole third base situation earlier in the season. And it's like, oh, now you want me to, after you denied me and you told the whole media that I didn't want to play third base, that I didn't want to play DH. Now you're trying to force me into playing first base. And I don't believe that it's not a big deal. Maybe he's not making it aware to his teammates, but he came out and he spoke out against the GM.
Well,
He
no,
said, I
yeah,
don't know
but
what
what
the
I'm
GM
saying is that
thinks.
I don't think it's something that has blown over to the locker room yet. Like I don't think it's affecting
Well,
team
Campbell
chemistry.
already came out and said, if not yesterday, the day before, he said, I'll play wherever the team needs me to play, which to me feels like a backhanded comment considering everything that's been coming around the last few days or the few weeks. So
I mean, I
I,
mean maybe, but I would also take it as he's a rookie on the team. He unfortunately doesn't have much pushback, and I mean I understand he's playing
he needs to
well,
do it. Yeah.
but it's something where like he's gonna play where the team Christian Campbell's gonna play where the team wants him to play at this current moment because he's not in a position
To say no.
to say no, especially if he
Right.
wants
But
playing time.
Right, but that's my exact point. That could happen to Campbell because Campbell is a rookie. But bro, Rafael Devers is a superstar. He's a superstar, and now it's like, oh, we'll drag you this way, we'll drag you that way, and then at the end of the day, you're gonna do whatever I want. Like, bro, it doesn't work like that in professional sports anymore. We're way past that time. Players want respect, and to me, considering what happened earlier in the season, now you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pull it back, and now you're gonna move to first. Bro, respectfully get out of here with that. He doesn't have to, in my opinion, he doesn't have to move to first. He already said yes to DH. Now they're trying to force him into first. To me, it's bullshit, bro. To me, it's bullshit. And excuse my French, but I think that uh, you know, he has every right to say no. He's past the level of someone like Campbell that needs to play where he needs to play because he's a rookie. He's past that point already, bro. He's a superstar.
I mean, I get that, like I really do, but at the same time, I mean, it's it's like he's not the first superstar or star player that has had to move positions in baseball history for X,
Yes,
Y, and Z
I
reason, and
I
also
know.
like you're doing it to help your team. Like my thing is, right? I get it. Like I'm not there in these meetings when they talk to him. The GM side of it, Craig Breslow of the Red Sox hasn't what's it called come out publicly and really talked about it. It's only been Devers' side. I don't know what they really told him, You know, like
But they met with him because that was made public.
no, I mean that was made public because of what Devers said. But the thing is, I don't know exactly how these conversations went. We only have Devers' side and how he feels. We don't know what the other side said. And yes, it's sometimes better to be like pro player than it is pro GM. But the thing is, fact of the matter is, we're going off of one side where Devers came out and basically said that they asked him to play first base. He said no, and
But
I
how are we going off of one side? We're not going off of one side. We already know what happened earlier in the season. We're not going off of one side. What do you
well,
mean?
because we don't have what the Red Sox. None of the Red Sox front office has really said anything publicly besides
But
the
we
fact.
never do though. We never do. The teams never come out and say, "Hey, this is what we said to them." Those conversations are mostly kept private, unless it's a blow up situation. Which honestly, I have a feeling this is gonna go towards that eventually. But I don't. What I don't get is what is so difficult to understand. This is not a Bryce Harper situation, bro. Rafael Devers has never been a utility player
Yeah, but
since
it's not
when?
it's not about necessarily being a utility player. I mean, these are also star players that have done this in the past for whatever reason. That whether and I mean Bryce Harper, I get it that he got injured and stuff, but he's publicly said that if they ever were to sign somebody else to play first base, or if they were to sign, whatever the case is, he would move back out to the outfield to do or move wherever.
But that's his primary though. Outfield is Bryce Harper's primary position.
And I mean he realistically only moved back to first base, or not moved back to first base, but moved to first base in the first place, because it would get him like back from injury quicker. It's not because he had to. He can still throw. I mean, we've clearly seen it.
Right, he chose to. He chose to move to first base, and that's a different story, though. That with this whole thing with Devers, to me, it's crazy, dude. Like you just told him that he couldn't play the field because he was a liability. Now, now that you need it, you want him to play the field, but on the other side, bro, come on, bro. It's it's nonsense, bro. Sports is not about that anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I just think it maybe goes both ways in a sense. Like, I don't know the exact wording and what they could have told him in the meetings. He claims from what he was quoted that they told him to put his glove away, and now they're asking him to play first base. But I mean, if you put him at first base, you can make your team better. And that's where I kind of don't get it with Rafael Devers, because like yes, you if anything, those should be the kind of like, I don't know if he just flat out said no, or what he said in those. That's the thing. We don't have what he said necessarily in detail in those meetings either. We just have what he told the media. And the thing is, I mean, if anything, what I think should be happening is you sit down with your team and you lay out how you feel, and you tell them clearly, like, I wanted to play third. You obviously got Alex Bregman. I finally came around and accepted you putting me at DH. Then now you want me to play first. I get it. This guy got Casas got injured, and 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 he might not fully want to play a first base for whatever reason he may have. Right? He doesn't like the position. He doesn't. He you
Because
know.
he doesn't play first base. He's not a first baseman.
But it's like I don't know. I think also not to fully put the blame only on Devers, because obviously that's probably what it sounds like from my perspective. But also I think the Red Sox just could have been better about it, and honestly they should have been playing him, not necessarily playing him, but they should have put first base in his back pocket a while ago, and that would have fixed this whole situation. If you do this in the off season, or you do this earlier in his career, and you tell him, "Hey, look, I wanna teach you first base, and I wanna put that in your back pocket for whatever may happen down the line," this probably makes the situation 10 times easier.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You know my take on it. I disagree with the whole shit that's going on. I think it's BS. The Red Sox are asking him that after the whole thing they did earlier in the season. So you know my take on it.
Because if you want some like examples of what I'm saying is like it's kind of like what the Blue Jays did with Vlad Guerrero Jr. I mean, he was an offensive first prospect. He was a third baseman. If you ask Vladdy, he would probably ultimately like to play third. It's probably a more fun position, but they they put first base in his back pocket early on in his career, and ultimately, I don't know if he's serving as DH for first base now, but they put that in his back pocket, so now he's their first base slash DH, and I mean, I just don't fully get it because the thing is that if you move at the current moment, I think it makes the Red Sox a better team to have obviously Devers play first because they have Masataka Yoshida, who's been one of their better hitters since he signed, and he's not playing because they have nowhere to put him. He
Okay,
he's
that
a
and that's fine,
he's
but
a he's a
that's
he's a liability defensively, so they don't want to play him in the outfield, especially not in the outfield. You know we know this as Marlins fans that having a liability in the outfield is one of the biggest detriments you can have to a
oh,
team.
it costs you a bunch of runs. Yeah.
And Yoshida's not an outfielder. He's demonstrated that clear as day. The Red Sox already have three, even four, if you count Roman Anthony in their farm system that could get called up any day. They have four major league ready outfielders, and they can't play Yoshida out there. But if you play Devers at first and you move him off of DH, you can DH Yoshida, and I think that makes your lineup stronger.
Yeah, but that's also asking someone to do something that they've never done before. And again, as I said previously, I don't believe that Devers should have to do any of that, especially given what happened earlier in the season.
I fully get it, but I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't get it when you see other star players around the league do this kind of stuff. And one of the more recent examples of something that actually happened, and I think it's probably the number one example that should be cited for this situation, is when Freddie Freeman was hurt a few years back, and he was with Atlanta, whatever. And they had Matt Adams, and he was playing first base, obviously, during the duration of the time that Freddie Freeman was hurt, and he was actually playing pretty well for them. So what did Freddie Freeman do when he came back? He played third. And this is for Matt Adams, a player that didn't even last on the team. He was gone probably within the next season or two. And Freddie Freeman decided to play third to allow Matt Adams to stay in the lineup.
Would Freddie Freeman play third now?
Would Freddie Freeman play third now? I have
No.
I have no idea. I don't know where he stands,
Freddie Freeman has a bum ankle. He wouldn't play third right now.
but I don't think they would
Bro,
ask him. But that's the thing. I don't think they would ask him to play third, knowing that he, like you mentioned, he has a bum ankle. I don't think they'd ask him to play third.
they
At the
wouldn't ask him to
but
play
that
third, but
but my point is, at the time he
do you
did.
think do you think let me ask you a question. Do you think Freddie Freeman was forced to play third in Atlanta?
No.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the whole bro, that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
but
get
that's the
across
whole
to you.
point. That it's not that he was forced, is that these are superstar players that didn't have to be forced because they were willingly went to the team and said, "Hey, I'll play here because I know it'll make the team better."
Bro, you know
Devers never did that. Devers never made
bro,
himself
but
available to want to be a team player.
you know that bro, you know Devers, bro. And Devers is not this versatile player. You know, you could base it on body type. Freddie Freeman is a completely different player. He wanted to play third. I, if they told him no to play in the field because of whatever reason, now he doesn't. He's going to a position that he doesn't want to play for whatever reason. Why should he be forced? Freddie Freeman wanted to play third. Freddie Freeman wanted to play third.
I don't know, man. I just think it's like kind of a little bit of a mess up on both sides because you could have easily talked it out in the offseason, especially after signing Alex Bregman and maybe put first base in his back pocket because spring training would have been like the perfect opportunity to put put first base in his back pocket and teach him how to play the position and really have this whole thing like penciled out. Obviously, you don't expect Tristan Cassis to get hurt and then have like a gaping hole at first base, but it's kind of what's happened.
Let's move on to Derek Shelton and Bud Black, bro, because we're never gonna agree on this topic. I certainly won't ever agree on that. I'm not saying I'm player first, but I'm definitely saying that in this situation, I think what they did is wrong, even more wrong than what happened in the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So I guess once again, you guys can go ahead and comment down below how you feel about the Devers situation, and I don't know, let us know your thoughts on it because I mean, we clearly disagree here,
Yeah, we're gonna agree to disagree here.
which is totally fine. I mean, we can have our fun on this podcast, and that's what.
I'm sure it won't be the first or the last time.
No, and I mean that's the whole fun of it, like we'll debate these topics on the podcast, and you guys can chime in on the debate in the comments below. That's the reason we do this whole show in the first place. But yeah, so we can move on to managers that were fired, Derek Shelton and Bud Black. I mean, you can start off with first off, I want to start off and ask if you think any of them, which by the way, I just realized I spelled his name Bus instead of Bud in my notes. But anyways, the point is that I'd like to question and ask if you think any of these firings were either justified or if they were scapegoats.
Well, I think that the Bud Black firing was justified. I think that listen, you can't be that bad without having a bad manager. I think the Rockies are just bad in general. I think they're all bad. I think from top to bottom, the organization is bad. So I wouldn't say Bud Black was a scapegoat. I think that that team in general is just bad from top to
Yeah, I
bottom.
mean they're on pace to break I think the White Sox record,
Yeah, yeah, it's real bad.
and I mean that honestly that's kind of impressive because I didn't think that we would have back-to-back seasons of the loss record being broken.
And then you could say what you think about um,
Derek
you could say
Shelton.
what you think about Derek Shelton. I think that he may have been a scapegoat in this situation. I think that you know personally, I think the team doesn't have bad players. So I mean, you can say your opinion on that. I don't personally think they have a bad team. I think it may be a bigger problem, but and like you said, we'll never know what it is. But he's one of the guys that may have been a scapegoat, in my opinion.
I definitely think so. I mean I'd have to agree there. Like I going back to the Rockies thing, I don't know if he necessarily if Bud Black was necessarily a scapegoat or not. I mean the team is just playing awful, and and it's just the Rockies need to really figure that out because they just they have a full organizational problem. But
Yeah,
so do the Pirates, I think in general, because I think Derek Shelton was definitely a scapegoat in in this case because not necessarily for what you said, because I do think they have a bad team in general. I don't think they have as great of a team as you would think. They have like a few players there that I think are good, which would be Paul Skeens, and this is really like long term, So I'm not gonna count Andrew
yeah,
Heaney, who's having a good year or whatever. But like Paul Skeens, they have. I mean, Keith Brian Hayes, who had that one season I think in 2020, and everyone thought he was gonna break out, and he hasn't done anything since.
yeah,
Sean Reynolds, or Brian Reynolds, my bad. Uh, Brian Reynolds in the outfield, who's I mean, he's just been a staple there. He's been good for them for a
Yeah,
while, and then O'Neal Cruz, who's also good for them. But like
yeah,
that's about it. And they really just have an issue. I mean, they don't develop hitting very often. For some
no,
reason, they're able to develop pitching. I mean, they had I forget his name right now, but there's a pitcher they had who's currently injured, and they have Bo Chandler in the minor leagues. And I mean, I just think it's a massive issue with this team, like organizationally, and
yeah,
they
yeah.
and of course somebody has to get blamed, and or and lose their job, and it ends up being the manager because that's the
Uh,
easiest thing for an organization to turn to.
yeah, and I think Paul Skeen said it best. Paul Skeen said it best. He's like, someone has to be held accountable, and unfortunately, in this case, it was Derek Shelton.
Yeah, which
Um,
I don't agree with at all. I mean, I don't think he's ever really truly been given, at least in the
our
past,
competitive team.
yeah, a
Yeah,
competitive team, and you know you kind of hurt him by doing that.
I agree. I'm with you there. I think we both agree that he was just a scapegoat in that case.
And the pitcher who I was trying to name that's pretty good was Jerry Jones. He's
I'm not familiar, so you can go ahead and that one. I'll admit I'm not familiar.
yeah, he if you don't remember through the I think his MLB debut versus the Marlins last year,
Hmm.
which was the second game because we played the Pirates in back to back opening series this year and last year, and he's honestly he's pretty good for them. I think this team maybe has a few more wins if he's healthy because
Yeah,
he's just that good. He's been a top prospect for a while. So that's the thing. They've shown the ability either to just identify pitching talent and develop it, or I mean I don't think you can go wrong with someone like Paul Skeens. Like I don't care who drafts him. You can have the worst development system. I think it'd be tough to ruin someone like Paul Skeens.
yeah,
But I mean they have a few other guys like Bubba Chandler who's in the minor leagues and currently like lighting it up, and he should get called up anytime soon. He's already at AAA lighting it up, and any day now he'll get called up in my opinion. And then you have you have guys like I mentioned, Jared Jones who are good too, and a few other guys, but they really haven't done anything with a lot of their their draft prospects that they've drafted over the years outside of
yeah,
pitching, and this team just hasn't developed anything. On the Rocky side of things, I feel like they're a lot of uh very similar in that regards too. I mean, they have a couple of prospects, but they never really develop them, and for some reason they don't know how to develop. I'm not saying I do, but as a team, as an organization, your major league team plays in Coors Field, which is an impossible park to pitch in. You
yeah.
know,
It really is.
not only is it because you're giving up a crap ton of home runs, but the ball moves differently there because of
Yeah,
altitude, and they don't know how to develop pitching properly there, and it is an issue. I mean, they called up
yeah,
Chase Dolander earlier this year, who's been one of their top prospects, and the guy's pitching to a 70 ERA. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they need to do, but you need to figure out how to develop pitchers that can pitch in Coors Field.
yeah. And the Rockies' pitching problem has been going on for forever. Even when they did have a good team, I just unfortunately think in the Rockies' case that that's going to be an issue always. In terms to wrap up what I was saying about the Pirates, I just think that organization is poorly run. They're poorly run. They haven't had a competitive team since the feels like the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it's just gonna be it is what it is with the Pirates until they probably get a better front office.
Yeah, I mean, on until both the Rockies and the Pirates, it's gonna be until they hopefully their owners freaking sell the team because they're not getting anywhere with those owners. I don't think so.
Right.
I really don't think so at all. And then our last topic, and definitely not least, is Rob Manfred lifted Hall of Fame bans on players, which basically he was saying from what I understood, anyways, is that he was saying that players who got lifetime ban, I guess he took it literal and he said that it's a lifetime ban, meaning now that they're dead, now that they're no longer here, I guess the ban is lifted. And the two most notable players that fall into that are Pete Rose and Sugar Joe Jackson, who are synonymous with gambling. And I mean, Pete Rose bet on games as a manager, and Shoeless Joe Jackson is infamous for that White Sox World Series where they supposedly threw. So I'll go ahead and take the side of Shoeless Joe Jackson for a second, because this is probably not something a lot of people know. But as somebody who likes to study, baseball history, I kind of know a little bit about it. Is that at the time, Shoeless Joe Jackson was an illiterate person. He did not know how to read. He didn't know what he was signing. And if you look at his stats in that World Series, he batted like over 375 with like I don't know how many home runs. You're really gonna tell me that he was actively trying to throw? I mean, I don't know. Him being illiterate is probably a fact, especially in that era, which is probably why he became a freaking baseball player, because that was the one thing he was good at, and who knows, in in that day and age, he probably didn't even freaking attend school properly. That's probably why he was illiterate. But it's like he he batted well over 300, smacked a bunch of home runs. I mean, to me, it is very hard to believe that's a player who was actively trying to freaking throw a World Series.
Yeah, I just think, the whole lifetime ban is, the whole thing that's happened now with the Hoff of like, oh, lifetime ban from the Hoff. But now that they're dead, let's bring them in. Like, how do you think the families feel with that? Like, how do you think like whoever's left of his family that's here thinks that now, oh, now that he's dead, he's gonna be voted into the Hoff? Like, you know, I think that this is a disservice and a disrespect, especially for Pete Rose, that is arguably the greatest hitter ever. With I don't know how many hits. You could tell me it was like over 4,000, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I just think that it's BS, man, and it's really disrespectful and a disservice to the families that now that they're dead, it's like, oh hey, now they could be voted into the Hoff. Like I think it's just
And
it's ridiculous.
and I'll say this, right, about P Rose, because he's really been like the bigger topic here of the two players named. Is that here's the thing, and I'm gonna kind of paraphrase a video that Chris Rose made. If you guys don't know who he is, he he has his own podcast. He's a well-known TV reporter who's been on MLB Network. He made a video talking about the whole Pete Rose situation and how the ban was lifted and how well, first of all, before I say what he said, I want to mention that the MLB Hall of Fame does have a character clause. So it's not only about you being a good player, but it's about you being a good person. Cause, and whether you agree with that or not, that's a whole different sentiment. But the truth of the matter is, and the fact of the matter is, that it is written in the rules that you have to be a good player. Now, that doesn't mean that every single player in there is necessarily the greatest human being ever. And you can debate that on another topic. And but the thing is that Pete Rose was not only a gambler who never really admitted to it, who never wanted to admit to, gambling until he was finally able to make money off of it, and that's when he admitted it in a book that he sold. But something that people don't want to talk about, and I think needs to be mentioned way more, is the fact that he was also a pedophile, and that is well documented. And
Dude, but come on, bro. Like
and
he's
and
he,
that's the truth. That
bro,
that
but he's
that's well documented that he was a pedo. That's well known.
bro, but this you see, bro, but that's like we're moving goalposts now, bro, because that listen, and that's not me supporting, you know, pedophilia, that's terrible, but or gambling in sports, it's also terrible. But the fact of the matter is, sports is not about what happens outside of sports.
Yeah,
It's not
but
about
that's the
that.
thing. That's the thing. Once you've written into your rules that you have a character clause because you want not only players that are good, but players who weren't horrible human beings.
But you don't know. But that's the thing, though. You don't know. They could be to your knowledge, a good person, but you never know what happens with a player behind closed doors. I mean, you never know that. So it's like now we're gonna be, testing character by what we know. I don't agree with that, bro. I think sports is sports at the end of the day. Listen, Michael Jordan is arguably, if not the best, one of the best basketball players ever, and he's well documented to not be that great of a person. So
Yeah,
if we're
but
going by that standard, then Michael Jordan shouldn't be in the half either.
here's here's where I stand with that, right? Because yes, it's someone like Michael Jordan, and yeah, it's a different sport, whatever. But we're just giving examples here. I understand that someone like Michael Jordan has been well documented to be an a hole. Like if like I've heard stories about him that if people have seen him in public, try to ask for an interview. I mean, not an interview, an autograph, and he's kind of like rude about saying no instead of just politely saying no. I get that stuff, but I don't think that's enough of a reason to not put somebody in the Hall of
Bro,
Fame.
but
But
that's
but if
that's
you
the
but if
whole
you
reason why Pete Rose didn't get inducted. It's not because of what you said about him being allegedly a pedophile. It's because he was a gambling addict. That's why he's not in the Hop, not because they thought he was a pedophile.
yeah, but that's also a big reason why I don't think he should be voted in.
Okay, but that's not what the MLB is going off of, bro. Bro, you think that if it was just the pedophilia thing, MLB wouldn't have voted him in?
I mean, he's not
You think they wouldn't have voted him in?
he's not voted in right now. I mean, he'll be eligible in 2027. I
Right, but
mean, like,
I'm saying, all stuff aside, if the gambling would have never happened, do you think he wouldn't be in the Hoff right now?
I would hope not. I can't say for certainty, but
bro, but you know it,
you would have to hope the writers don't vote him in based off of
bro.
that.
But you know he would be though.
I
Why do you
mean,
say I hope not?
because someone like Kurt Schilling, who's one of the best playoff pitchers of all time and is Hall of Famer by the numbers, hasn't been voted in because he's a conservative and because of his political viewpoints.
Yeah, but Kurt Schilling is not Pete Rose. Pete Rose is documented to be one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter ever. So, what do you mean, Kurt Schilling? Yeah, Kurt Schilling's not voted in because he's a conservative, but he's not Pete Rose.
That to me doesn't matter. They hold the same level of like importance in a sense
No, they don't, bro.
of should they be in the Hall of Fame if you're going based off just their performances alone.
No, they don't, bro. It's well documented that Pete Rose is probably the best hitter ever.
I wouldn't go that
You
far to
know,
call him the best hitter ever.
bro, but the numbers show it, and you know it. The only reason why you're not saying that is because they banned him from the Hoff. But you know very well that if he didn't gamble on games, he'd be in the Hoff already. You know that, bro. You know it.
I mean, I'd personally not put him in there just for the reasons listed, him being a pedo and the gambling.
Okay. I understand that, but I asked you the question. You didn't want to answer it. If he did not gamble, do you think the writers wouldn't have voted him in?
I'm gonna be honest, they probably would have, but I would
Exactly.
honestly hope they don't.
I know, but
But
that's
that's where
just
it
your
becomes
opinion.
that's where it becomes unfair because
But we know that already though. We know that the MLB, NBA, and all these people, you know, the Hoff voting is unfair. You know that already.
my final stance, which I don't know if you have any more to say on this, but my final stance is gonna be that if Pete Rose gets voted into the Hall of Fame, and this, I understand I'm open to debate here, but this is a statement that I will not debate because I stand by it and I don't really feel like I have anything to explain with it. after I say it is that if Pete Rose gets voted into the Hall of Fame, right, before any of these steroids, here's the thing, right? If Pete Rose gets voted into the Hall of Fame, and we clearly don't have any of these steroid era users voted in, and the reason they're not voted in is because they took steroids, even though the MLB clearly allowed it, even though the MLB clearly benefited off of it in the 80s and 90s and whatever. I think the MLB Hall of Fame is going to lose a ton of credibility. Because
They already did. They already have. So you don't have to worry about that. They've lost credibility for a long time already.
Because, I mean, these steroid era players should be in the Hall of Fame above anybody else.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But the fact of you saying that the MLB is gonna lose credibility, they already have, bro. The Everyone knows that the MLB HOF voting is a fucking joke. You know that, and I know that. So you saying that if Pete Rose gets voted in before, it's gonna lose credibility, bro. We already know that it did. It's lost credibility for a long time already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I just. I just don't know how to like really think about it because it's it
And make
really
no mistake, he's gonna get in. He's gonna get in. So
it's it really is that way. I mean, I would honestly urge you guys all to go check out the video that Chris Rose made on his Twitter about the Pete Rose. I mean, I think he probably says it better than us because he's a lot older. He's somebody who grew up watching Pete Rose. He's somebody who said that Pete Rose was his favorite player, and I think it kind of shows the. I mean, I don't know what the right wording would be. The double-edged sword, I guess, here with Pete Rose. The side of him that was an amazing player, that some people consider the most winningest player. I don't know how you quantify that, but and he's obviously the MLB hit king, and but then you also have the side of him who was a gambler and I mean you have to mention it. I think a pedophile and it's just kind of like I get where people come from when they say he shouldn't be voted in,
all
and
right.
and I understand that you can give examples of other guys that that shouldn't be in. If you're gonna say Pete Rose shouldn't be in because of being a pedo, but it's like, well, then maybe we should have a discussion about that. And
Yeah.
and and I mean, it's gonna sound ridiculous to say, but if that's the arguments we want to make, then I think we might have to take a moment to start removing people from the Hall of Fame if if
Okay.
that's how it's gonna go. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of what I think it would have to lead to because yeah, there's people who say you have other guys in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't be there and we go based off a character clause, but at the same time it's like then then let's open up a whole nother can of worms about removing players because they weren't great
No.
people.
No, I think there's a good place to end the episode, just because that's something that I can't get behind.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Make sure to share this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. And hey, I mean, I think we touched up on some pretty good subjects here that you guys can comment below and let us know your thoughts, how you feel about some of these, and yeah, I mean, we'll talk to
Let
you
us
guys.
know. Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah, and we'll be talking to you guys next week then for our next episode.
Yes.
Stay tuned here every week.